Have you ever gotten angry at the very people you love the most? Maybe it was your spouse, your child, a close friend, or even a family member. What did they do to make you so angry? Was it a careless comment? A thoughtless action? Or maybe there was no clear reason at all. Yet somehow you still got angry. Angry enough to say words you couldn't take back. Angry enough to turn away, to stay silent, and to let the distance between you grow wider and wider. And then, when the anger finally faded, did you feel regret? Did you tell yourself, I shouldn't have done that? But by then it was too late. The words had been spoken. The actions had been taken. The relationship had been fractured. We've all been there. Every single one of us. Anger is like a fire. At first it's just a small spark, barely noticeable. But if you don't keep it in check, it grows into a raging blaze, consuming everything in its path. It burns through your words. It burns through your actions. And it burns through the relationships you spent so long building. But what if I told you that anger isn't as scary as you think it is? What if I told you that if you could truly understand it, its source, its triggers, and how it works, then you wouldn't have to control it at all. Instead, you could simply observe it. And just by observing it, the anger would lose its power. It would begin to dissolve on its own. Today, we're going to embark on a journey together. A journey to understand anger, where it comes from, how it grows, and most importantly, how to transform it into peace. So the next time anger rises up inside you, you won't be its victim anymore. Instead, you'll be its master, the master of your own mind. The origin of anger. We often think that anger comes from other people, but the truth is, anger comes from within us. Think about it for a moment. Have you ever felt angry because someone made a critical comment about you? Or maybe you got upset because someone didn't do what you expected them to do. But if you look a little deeper, what is it that truly made you angry? Was it the person's action? Or was it the fact that your expectations weren't met? This is the root of anger, unmet expectations. But that's not all. According to psychologists, our anger actually has three main sources. 1. Inherited traits. If your parents or grandparents had a quick temper, it's possible you inherited that tendency through your DNA. 2. Environmental influences. The way we're raised, the way people around us handle anger, and the culture we grow up in water the seeds of anger within us. 3. Control habits and expectations. When you develop a habit of wanting things to go your way, anger naturally arises when life doesn't follow your plan. But here's something you may not know. Anger doesn't just exist in your mind. It has a direct impact on your body. Every time you get angry, your body activates its fight or flight response. This is your body's way of protecting you from perceived threats, but it comes at a cost. When this system activates, your brain releases two powerful hormones. Adrenaline, it makes your heart beat faster, pumps more blood to your muscles, and gives you a sudden rush of energy, almost like a boost to prepare for action. Cortisol, this is the stress hormone. It causes rapid breathing, tightens your chest, and triggers that sense of unease or anxiety. That's why when you're angry, you feel your heart racing, your chest tightening, and your breathing becoming shallow and fast. Your body is preparing to fight or flee, but there's no real threat. So instead of using that energy to run from danger, it just burns you out from the inside. Anger is like a fire. At first, it's a small flame, but it grows stronger with oxygen. Oxygen in the form of negative thoughts, unmet expectations, and old, unchecked habits. If you leave that fire unchecked, It will burn through your mind, your words, and your relationships. But here's the good news. If you recognize the anger early, if you can observe it without feeding it, the fire will burn itself out. You don't have to pour water on the fire. You don't have to fight it. All you have to do is stop adding oxygen. Now, do you see why anger is so powerful and so dangerous? But here's the beautiful part. Once you understand it, you can take back control. You'll no longer be a victim of your anger. Instead, you'll be the one who sees it, understands it, and lets it fade away on its own. Why is anger dangerous? Anger is like fire. It can keep you warm, but it can also burn you to ashes. When you're angry, you might think to yourself, "So what if I'm angry? This shows I'm strong." But here's the truth. Anger doesn't prove strength. In fact, it shows that you've lost control of yourself. Take a moment to think about the last time you got angry. Do you remember the words you said? Do you remember the look in the other person's eyes when they were hurt? And after it was all over, what was left? Was it silence? A growing distance between you and the other person? This is the first danger of anger. It destroys relationships. Words spoken in anger are sharp like knives. They cut deep. And even if you apologize later, the scars are still there. People might forgive, but they rarely forget. The second danger of anger is that it doesn't just hurt your relationships. It hurts your health too. Every time you get angry, your body releases two powerful stress hormones, adrenaline and cortisol. Adrenaline makes your heart race. Cortisol makes your breathing short and shallow. Your blood pressure spikes. Your muscles tighten. If this happens too often, your heart grows weaker. Studies show that people with frequent anger issues have a higher risk of heart disease, high blood pressure, and sleep problems. But that's not all. Long-term anger puts you in a constant state of stress. Anxiety builds up. Mental exhaustion sets in. Your mind is constantly on edge. But perhaps the most dangerous part of anger is that it causes you to lose yourself. When you're angry, it feels like your mind has been hijacked. Your logic, your reasoning, all of it disappears. This is when people make the worst decisions of their lives. Hurtful words, acts of violence, ending relationships they later wish they hadn't. The scariest part? After the anger fades, you're left with regret. But by then, it's too late. The words have been spoken. The damage has been done. So ask yourself this: is it really worth it? Is it worth sacrificing your love, your friendships, your reputation, and your health for one moment of anger? Anger can appear suddenly, but if you don't recognize it in time, you'll become its victim. And in the end, who suffers the most? It's you. So, do you want to keep letting anger control you? Or will you learn how to take control of it? Remember this: a fire will burn everything in its path, but only if you keep feeding it. Take away its fuel, and it will die out on its own. How to transform anger. Anger isn't bad, and it's not your enemy either. If you see anger as an enemy and try to suppress it right away, it will only come back stronger. So, how do you transform anger? The answer is not about controlling it. It's about understanding it. It's about observing it. Imagine this. Anger is like a crying child. You can't just yell at the child or push them away. If you do, the child will only cry louder. But if you sit down, stay close, and listen to what the child needs, the child will eventually calm down. Anger works the same way. Instead of trying to put it out, all you have to do is observe it and listen to it. But how exactly do you observe your anger? Method 1. Pause and step away from the situation. When you feel anger rising, pause. Stop talking. Stop acting. If possible, step away from the situation. Go outside. Take a walk. Or find a quiet space where you can be alone for a moment. If you can't leave, then just sit still. Don't say anything, not one word, because in moments of anger, even one careless word can make everything worse. Method 2. Use your breath to cool down the anger. When you're angry, notice your breathing. It's short, fast, and shallow. To calm the anger, do the opposite. Breathe slowly and deeply. Here's how. Breathe in slowly for 4 seconds. Hold your breath for 4 seconds. Exhale slowly for 6 seconds. Repeat this cycle 5 times. This isn't just a theory. Science has proven that slow, deep breathing lowers heart rate, reduces stress, and calms the mind. And here's the best part. You don't have to control your anger. You just need to breathe and observe it. Method 3. Watch your anger, like you're watching a movie. Instead of being in the anger, step back and watch it. Like you're a moviegoer sitting in the theater. Talk to yourself as if you were a curious observer. My anger is showing up. Where did it come from? When did it start? What triggered it? Take a closer look. Does your anger have a shape? Is it hot or cold? Do you feel it in your chest, your head, or your stomach? Observe it. No judgment, no blame, just pure observation. This practice is called mindfulness. It's like watching a fire burn. You don't try to put the fire out. You don't throw water on it. You just watch it. And eventually, the fire will burn itself out. Because without oxygen, a fire can't survive. Anger works the same way. Finally, remember this. Anger is temporary. It comes and it goes. But if you know how to sit still and observe it, you'll no longer be a victim of it. This is the art of transforming anger. If you love, don't be angry. It's funny, isn't it? We're so quick to forgive strangers, but when it comes to the people we love, just one careless word, and suddenly we're filled with anger. Why is that? It's because we expect too much from the people we love. We expect them to always understand us. We expect them to always support us. We expect them to always be perfect in our eyes. But here's the truth. The people we love are human too, and humans make mistakes. Yet because of these high expectations, we often get angry at loved ones much more easily than strangers. Think about it. If a stranger accidentally bumps into you on the street, you might frown, but you'll let it go. But if your partner, child, or close friend does the same thing, suddenly you're upset. You might say, "Can't you be more careful?" Or, "Why do you always do this?" And here lies the greatest paradox of anger. We tend to get the most angry with the people we love the most. Think about it for a moment. Have you ever been angry at your parents for being too strict with you? Have you ever been angry at your child for not listening? Or maybe you got angry at your partner because they didn't reply to your message right away. But after all that anger, who ends up suffering the most? It's not them, it's you. Why? Because deep down, you love them. So, do you really need to stay angry? The answer is no, you don't. Instead of anger, you can choose understanding. The next time someone you love upsets you, try to remind yourself, they're probably going through something too. They're dealing with stress I can't see. Don't forget, the people you love also have hard days. Days when they feel overwhelmed, tired, or distracted. They're not trying to hurt you on purpose. Most of the time, it's accidental. So why punish them with anger? Instead of reacting with anger, try to shift your mindset. The next time someone you love says or does something hurtful, ask yourself, did they really mean to hurt me? Do they deserve my anger right now? If you reflect for just a moment, you might realize that the answer is no. Here's something worth remembering. If you truly love someone, you'll choose compassion over anger. Love is the antidote to anger. The more you love, the more you understand. The more you understand, the more you practice compassion. And when compassion is present, anger disappears on its own. So remember this. Love doesn't mean controlling someone or expecting them to be perfect. Love means accepting each other's flaws. So if you truly love someone, choose love, not anger. Anger is like a fire. If you add wind, the fire will grow stronger. But if you let it burn without giving it more oxygen, it will slowly burn out on its own. So the next time anger rises within you, try something different. Just sit still. Don't add wind. Don't add fuel. Just observe. Observe your breath. Observe your emotions, and you'll see something surprising. Anger is not as powerful as you think it is. It's just energy, and like a fog that disappears in the warmth of the sun, the light of awareness can dissolve the darkness of anger. The more you look, the more you understand. The more you understand, the softer you become. And in that softness, you'll find something you may not have expected: true peace. I wish you peace. Remember, compassion is the antidote to anger. Live with compassion, and you will no longer be a victim of anger.